Hello, everyone. Hi. As promised, I'm going to show you how to use something called a refractometer or refractometer. You can say it either way. It is a tool used for testing the percentage in your coolant. It'll tell you the freezing protection and the boiling protection of the coolant. So first of all, you need to calibrate the tester. It doesn't have to be done very often. In fact, I've never calibrated this one until today. But I went ahead and followed the instructions, and what it tells you to do is put some distilled water under the glass, and you hold this up to the light to where you're basically looking directly at a light or looking directly at the sunlight outside. And inside there's a gauge. I've given you examples of the gauge in different videos. And that gauge should be set on what's called the water line. If it's not on the water line, you take off this cap, this little black cap, and you use the small screwdriver that comes with the tool, which is this little guy right here. You put it in this hole and you turn it and adjust it to where the difference inside between the dark and the light colors is directly on the water line. Okay, once you've done that, in order to test coolant, we're going to get rid of this distilled water. And in order to test the coolant on this car, the coolant was down pretty far. We need to draw some coolant up with this little bulb here, this little turkey baster kind of thing. And it was too low for this to reach. So what I did was I took a long hose and I plugged the end of it and I stuck it down in there a couple of times, and I got some coolant, enough coolant to do this test. So now that I have that, I'm going to take this little turkey baster and I'm going to draw up some coolant. So I have some coolant in here. Now, most of the videos, in fact, every video I watched, shows you lifting up this glass and putting the coolant on the tester underneath. But I've always used this tester like this. I close the glass and I take the coolant and put it right here, and you can see it fills up the area nicely, and it lets you know when you have enough coolant on the tester. Okay, so you can see, it's hard to get the reflection here, but you can see it's full now. So what I'll do is I'll hold this up and look at it towards the light. See if I can adjust the camera here. So I'll hold this towards the sunlight and look through it. And there's two scales. One is for ethylene glycol and one is for propylene glycol. I'll have to check and see which one this Honda has in it. They're not too far apart. You can focus the tool by turning this. And one reads about minus 45 degrees. Actually, they both read about minus 45 degrees. They're different in the higher temperatures, so around 0 and 10 and 20 degrees. The differences between propylene and ethylene are quite different. But up in these, or I should say down in these lower temperatures, minus 40, minus 50, the scales are just about equal. So in this one, minus 45 degrees is what my freezing protection is. Now I can, and that is Fahrenheit in this tool. Some of them read centigrade or Celsius, so you'll have to adjust, see the scale accordingly. But that's pretty good protection. I can look at a chart on the side of the coolant bottle, and I can tell what percentage that is. So right here, there's a chart right there. And really all it tells us is if you have a 50-50 mixture of antifreeze, you should have protection down to -34. My guess is I have a little bit stronger mixture than that, so my protection is a little bit stronger. That's not necessarily a good thing. Your protection should be right at 50-50. When it's 50-50, if that's what the manufacturer calls for, that means that your pH level is right inside the engine. When your pH level is right, it's kind of like your swimming pool. If you get those chemicals right, there's less corrosion and your chemicals inside the coolant are more stable and will last longer. So I'll probably check a little closer, maybe find a chart online that tells me what the percentages I'm working with here. And if the coolant is too high, I'm going to add some distilled water. And if the coolant is too low, I'm going to add more coolant. Okay, that's just about it. Thanks very much.